passing of Madiba has really touched the hearts of many South Africans from all walks of life and maybe continue to keep his memory and his legacy alive. And with that in mind, we continue our discussion on how to deal with this loss for the nation and here to help us with it, we have Professor David Musoma, who is the chairperson of the National Interfaith Council of South Africa, and we also have Mulana Ibrahim Bam from the Jamiat Ulema in Johannesburg. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. People rely intensely on their religion to get them through grief. Tradition, ritual, ceremony plays a significant part. How does Islam deal with the grieving process?
I think, firstly, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to the viewers. And we're here to share our grief with the entire South African community. I think one aspect with regard to how do we deal with the grief of death is, firstly, the inevitability of it. The Quran says, "Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut," each and every person would taste death. One is, and then another place in the Quran it says, قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ. Even the death that naturally each and every person finds it to be difficult, and we all know that death is difficult, there is separation, there is grieving process, it will come and find you. That means it's inevitable. But one of the ways that we also deal with death is for us to understand from our perspective that death is not the end of existence. Death is just the mere moving from one stage of existence into another stage of existence. Just as the womb of the mother, when a child leaves the womb of the mother, there's great amount of grief from the child's perspective. There's crying, there's wailing. But of course, it's moving from one stage of existence into another stage of existence. In a similar manner, we look at death not at the end of existence, but at the beginning of another stage of existence.
And Professor, you were saying that earlier as well.
Yes, indeed. One of the anchoring source is that Christians believe that Christ has conquered death because he has gone before us and he has swallowed death in the grave. So death is a way into meeting Christ. John speaks about preparing the way, the place where all of us must find a home. So death is a movement towards this new home, the eternal home, where we meet, as it were, those who have gone before, the company of the faithful. Those who have conquered in this life, now are given a new place to work again to create this new heaven and new earth.
Now, Madiba strongly believed in fostering interfaith dialogue. How do we get that going at this very difficult process of our lives when we are mourning and we're holding on to our individual faiths?
Madiba understood that there will never be peace in the world until there's peace among religions. And for that reason, the first sitting president to call the religious summit in South Africa in 1999, in which he called upon religious leaders to come up with a structure in which they could relate with government. Because he understood that political, social, and economic reconciliation alone will not be enough. And there's a need for religious reconciliation. The reason for that is that conflict in the world can almost always be traced to religion.
Why was this a revolutionary idea and a path to follow, Milan, especially when we look at how we relate with each other across the different faiths?
I think one of the great aspects with regard to Madiba's leadership is to go beyond the emotional and go towards something that is, pervasive and look at the broader good of the community and society. Let us face it, we all know that it is always easy to act on instinct, act on emotional. And given the fact that he had come out of 27 years of prison, given the fact that what actually had transpired in apartheid South Africa, the oppression, the injustice that was meted out, the instinct and the instinctive reaction was to act on the emotional. But a leader is always that person who doesn't always go according to what people want. He doesn't go according to what is popular. He doesn't go to what the emotional instinctive reaction would be. He goes beyond that. And I think that is one of the great aspects of Madiba's leadership. He didn't follow the emotional instinct, which I think after 27 years in prison would have been that let us go on the path of bloodshed, let us go on the path of reclaiming what was wrongly done to us. But I think that was the mark of a great leader.
We know his mother was a Methodist, and yet somehow, although I think the Methodists might like to claim, lay claim to him, he never sort of came out and really spoke about or aligned himself with a particular church. But you certainly got the impression he was very much a man of God. Do you think it was sort of those values that he presented to us as a nation?
It is easy to talk to him or to refer to him as a man of God, because the things that God would want people to embrace are good values of love, of justice, of fairness, of reconciliation. And when one embraces those values, it could be deemed this person is a man of God, because God can only embrace justice. And violence is the cause of injustice. The root cause of violence is injustice. So when somebody fights injustice, he tries to destroy the basis upon which society could no longer be disintegrated. So the harmony of society, that's what Madiba was trying to do.
How do we get rid of this violence that's permeated our society so greatly, our families even, and continue the legacy of Madiba?
I think one of the great attributes, and I think really we are honoring Madiba and hope that the leadership, the people of the country would be able to embrace some of the values that he articulated. And I suppose maybe from the South African perspective, that is the reason why there is such a great mourning throughout South Africa. It is because how do we get to live up to his morals or some of the aspects that he had articulated in his life? And one of the things that anyone who had come into touch with Madiba, the moment you met him, you came away feeling that he made you important. Nearly every person whom you meet with tells you that, even a person whom normally society would look upon as an ordinary person, when they met Madiba, they were touched by the fact that he made them feel important. It was also in many ways something that was done by the great people of the past. Having said that, what actually happens, and for us to take that forward is, and to get rid of the violence would be that to acknowledge each and every person. There's a very beautiful saying, an enemy is he whose story you have not heard. And perhaps to give each and every person that acknowledgement in our workplace, in our places where we gather, I think that will be something that we can maybe bring about, that peace and reconciliation that we seek to bring in our societies.
Thank you to the both of you. That was truly, truly inspiring. Thank you to Professor David Musoma and Mulana Bam. Now, here's a message from a comrade, a friend, and spiritual advisor of Tatu Mandela, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu.
We have lost our father. So many of us addressed him as Tata. He would want us, South Africans, to be his memorial. We, you, I, all of us, as a fitting memorial remembrance of Dada, is for us to become what the world had thought impossible. Let us give him the gift of a South Africa united, one. God, thank you for the gift of Madiba. Thank you for what he has enabled us to know we can become. help us to become that kind of nation.
Every visionary leader has mastered the practice of deeply connecting to his followers. He has refined the art of clarifying his vision for the benefit of his people in a way that truly engages and stirs them into action. The words there of Robin Sharma. A befitting quote that describes Madiba, his connection to all South Africans, which is deeply entrenched within all of us.
Now, we invite you to send us your Facebook and Twitter comments on twitter.com/SABC3 Madiba. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/SABC3 Madiba. Also, send us your messages on our SMS line 32728. That line is 32728. The cost of your SMS is R1.
And what you can do is begin your message with the word Madiba, followed by a space, and then send us your message. Now, joining us in the studio today is Pops Mohammed, who plays a tribute to Utata Mandela in his very own unique way.